Welcome to the first edition of the De-Anxious podcast. De-Anxious is an AI-based startup to help people who have anxiety eliminate it from their lives for good. This is the first edition of our podcast. I had not even thought of a name for this thing, so forgive me. I do not even have a script for this, so I'm just talking to you, without any script. Just like I'm talking to a friend of mine sitting next to me. So there's going to be some mistakes here, and so I hope you forgive me for that. But before we begin, I'd like to introduce myself to you. My name is Wayne Harrell, and I'm the founder of De-Anxious and the host of this podcast. As we move on, we're going to have more guests on this podcast, people who are going to share the stories of their lives, their anxieties, their battle with mental health issues, from depression, anxiety, and we're going to talk about all kinds of things, including productivity, how to use your anxiety for your benefit. Yes, you can do it. How to manage your anxiety, how to get rid of it. And different types of anxiety have different types of treatment. Different types of depressions have different types of treatment. And we have employed a great deal of experts on this to design some of the programs that I have and that we have, and it's very exciting, and I'll share with you everything that we're doing as we go on, as we move forward. And yeah, it's very exciting. So let's begin. So why are we choosing to tackle anxiety first? We could have gone with depression and other things, right? And one of the reasons is because it's very common, and anxiety has, it can do a lot of damage. It can really screw up your physical health, right? With the physical symptoms that you might get. And when it becomes chronic, it takes a form of a stress. And we all know what chronic stress can do to you. It is bad. It is just generally bad, right? Not always. It depends upon the type of anxiety you have and the way you deal with it, right? Sometimes anxiety, like temporary form of anxiety that is legit, is helpful. I mean, it is. We have anxiety for a reason, right? It's, our amygdala triggers certain signals, and it sends the signals to our brain, which kind of makes us freak out. And that's how anxiety gets triggered. And usually it's designed to help us warn when there is a predator nearby, right? You freak out when there's a snake nearby, or there's a bear charging at you, kind of shoots you up and increases your heart rate, prepare you for, escaping by running, and, provide your body with all the blood supply it needs and all that stuff. Recently, we have anxieties from, usual stuff like living in the normal world, right? You're Googling too much of your stuff, or, a family member has like a chronic terminal illness and now you have health anxiety, right? Or financial anxiety. You lost your job and you have like issues with the bill. You got married and your relationship is like, a little bit rocky, and now you have relationship anxiety. Social anxiety is also a thing. The world in which we are living right now is very different from the world in which we were evolved to live in, right? The world we were evolved to live in no longer exists. It hasn't existed for a very, very long time. So it's natural to have anxiety, right? It is natural to have these issues, and there's nothing you can do to stop, getting anxiety from the first place. But you can take steps to eliminate it, right? You can take steps to manage it. You can take steps to, get rid of it. You can't prevent it, but you can eliminate it. It's not that difficult. It's just a lot of work, right? If you understand what I'm trying to say here. Dealing with anxiety and getting rid of it is similar. The process, it's not very complicated. but it's long. It's like, it takes a lot of work. It takes commitment. It takes you being accountable with yourself. It takes you taking responsibility for this thing. It takes you to understand that what you have is anxiety, right? I was reading a New York Times article that 60% of Americans, if they go out there and take a test for anxiety, they're most likely going to be positive for that, right? Like, they all have some kind of anxiety, some kind of worry, from financial stuff to health stuff to, just watching the general news and, thinking that the world is going to fall apart and everything is going to hell, right? And these things, and the access to information, ease of access to information with the internet and all that stuff going on around us is just very natural. Sometimes people just have physical symptoms. They don't know that they have anxiety. They just get physical symptoms like chest pains or heart palpitations, like, feet feeling like jelly, and just like all that stuff, like feeling agitated, or like what's the word? Like feeling a little bit angry for like no reason, right? Yeah, agitated. And some people know exactly that they have anxiety, right? So they try to Google a lot of this shit up, and like, it's just like, it doesn't work all the time, Googling this stuff, because different types of anxiety have different types of treatment. Something that works for you doesn't mean it's going to work for somebody else, right? I mean, there is like basically basic treatments, like, it depends upon where you are, what's your mental state, and all that stuff. And then, you just work with your therapist to design that kind of treatment around it. It's difficult. And most therapists, especially in the United States, they do not do a very good job. And it can take you, a year or two to, work through it with the CBT and all that stuff. Sometimes I feel like it's a kind of racket. These people just try to extend the sessions as much as they can to bill you as much as they can. But it's, of course, it's not really true. Maybe it is. I don't know, right? But it doesn't take that long if you are committed. That's what I'm going to say. And being committed means, first of all, understand that you have anxiety, right? Number two is you have to take these steps, like, to design your program it yourself, and like, do a little bit of reflections, and, go through some of the de-anxious tools, and we have, like, go through the AI-based chatbot that we have to identify, where you are in life, just to lay it out on a piece of paper, and then, use the tools that we have to put all those things and convert them into a form of exercise, right? And then you do those exercise with some repetition, twice a week or something like that, and you start making some progress. That is how it works, right? It is not easy. I mean, it's not difficult. Like, it's like, that's what I'm going to say. But it just takes time, right? It takes commitment, So yeah, but most of the time, with like the state of healthcare in the United States is just like, especially the mental health care, it's just like, first of all, there's a shortage of therapists, right? Good luck trying to find one who is available, right? Most of these people are just booked. And, you have to wait like, I don't know, 45 days for an appointment. And then even then, this guy's just like, 45 days. Like, I know a friend of mine, Dan, tried to get an appointment, and he's just trying to find one. He didn't have the choice. There was a lot of counselors available, but he wanted like an actual psychologist to help him, but they were all booked. And so he had to find somebody like out of the state. It was just not working out. The phone therapy stuff is just like, and it works for some people, but it didn't work for him, right? But yeah, back to the point. Like, it's not easy to even find the therapist these days, because, like, many of these good therapists are booked. And if the one who's available, some people just can't afford to pay like $200 an hour or $300 an hour or whatever to these therapists for like, I don't know, almost in a year, like, once a week. And yeah, I mean, it's not that easy, right? So what is it that you can do to get the relief right now? Well, first of all, you have to understand what type of anxiety you have. What are you worried about? Doing a little bit of journaling helps, right? So we've designed some of these tools for you, journaling tools that you can go out there, put your story over there. We even have a chatbot, like an AI-based GPT chatbot, and you can just put all this stuff over there, and it can generate, some of those things for you if you ask him nicely. But yeah, so identifying what type of anxiety you have, then identifying your triggers, and then working towards a CBT-based therapy for yourself, right? Like just doing some of these mini exercises to help you get out of your comfort zone. And at the end of the day, it's just a kind of fear, right? Like, for example, a friend of mine had this anxiety where he was just like, he was making a lot of money. He was like making $50,000 a month. And he had this fear of, like spending money. It's like, you literally feel physical symptoms when he's just trying to spend like, a couple of $100, right? He thinks just like people are taking an advantage of him. And it's like, he had this fear that, like he's just spending too much money. He's just being wasteful. And he just had these negative thoughts about all these things. And he was just getting, physical symptoms like actual heart palpitations when he's trying to buy, purchase some minor stuff like an ice cream maker or, like a Kindle, Amazon Kindle he's trying to buy. And so he designed these, of course, he had this fear that, like, because he grew up poor and like his parents were like very frugal, and probably misers. And then he had to like, he didn't have this excess that he has available to him right now. It was like, it was creating some issues for him, right? So he designed this therapy where he would just like force him to not seek deals and not work towards like, not spend too much time trying to find the best possibilities. I know the first world problem, right? But it was difficult for him to even buy some useful stuff that he actually really needed, right? It was that bad, right? Spending an hour or two, sometimes 3 hours to save like $20, right? Meanwhile, he's making like $500,000 a year, right? So he designed some of these therapies about like confronting some of these fears that he had head on, and got rid of this anxiety I was having. So the point is, if you have this anxiety, what is anxiety? It's just a type of a primal fear, right? If you face your fear, it goes away. So these exercises you design, or you use some of our tools to design some of these exercises for yourself, they're just to help you confront those fears head on. When you do that, fear goes away, and you do it for like extended periods of time, you will conquer your anxiety.